Either one of us wants to go back. I don't think that would happen again. It wouldn't happen. And Rick's dead. We can't go back there.
A rock legend worth $180 million, yet his recording studio isn't in a mansion, it's on a boat. This is the mysterious lifestyle of David Gilmour you've never seen before. Viewers around the world know David Gilmour as the legendary guitarist whose soaring solos helped define the sound of Pink Floyd, but few realize the lifestyle he has built away from the spotlight is every bit as fascinating as his music. With an estimated fortune of nearly $180 million, Gilmour has chosen to invest not in flashy excess but in properties and possessions that reflect his love of creativity and solitude. One of the most astonishing examples is Astoria, his personal recording studio built not in a skyscraper or mansion, but on a Victorian houseboat that floats serenely on the River Thames. It is here, surrounded by water and history, that Gilmour shaped some of his most memorable recordings. The image is striking, a rock icon with global fame, quietly working on a boat hidden from the chaos of city life. This blend of mystery, wealth, and understated elegance raises a powerful question. How does a man who helped craft the soundtrack of a generation choose to live when the stage lights are off? And as you'll soon discover, the answer lies not only in his extraordinary homes, but also in his cars, collections, and even the controversies that come with great fortune. Early life and rise. Long before David Gilmour was known as the quiet force who steered Pink Floyd into the history books, he was simply a boy from Cambridge with a second-hand guitar and a fascination for sound. Born in 1946 to academic parents, Gilmour's early years were shaped less by privilege and more by a growing obsession with music. He cut his teeth listening to blues records, teaching himself licks and techniques that would later become his signature. By the mid-1960s, he was playing in local bands, earning small sums in pubs and clubs, far from the millions he would one day command. Fate intervened in 1968 when he was invited to join Pink Floyd, stepping in at a time when the group's original frontman, Syd Barrett, was spiraling away from the band. What began as a rescue mission soon became a reinvention, with Gilmour's distinct tone, melodic phrasing, and calm leadership pushing Pink Floyd into a new era. The albums that followed, Metal, Dark Side of the Moon, and Wish You Were Here, turned him into a global icon, though his demeanor remained strikingly modest. While stadiums filled to hear his guitar sing, Gilmour himself often retreated into the background, content to let the music speak louder than his name. This ability to balance extraordinary fame with personal restraint would later define not only his career, but also the lifestyle he built away from the stage. And nothing illustrates that more than the homes and spaces he chose to inhabit. Signature assets, houseboat, Astoria, and homes. When most rock stars invest their millions, the image that comes to mind is sprawling mansions or penthouses overlooking city skylines. David Gilmour chose something entirely different, a floating masterpiece. His houseboat, the Astoria, built in 1911, was transformed into a state-of-the-art recording studio, where the tranquil setting of the River Thames became the backdrop for some of Pink Floyd's most enduring sounds. Rather than chasing glamour, Gilmour built a creative sanctuary, a place where water laps against the hull while amplifiers and mixing consoles hum with life. It was here that parts of a momentary lapse of reason and the division bell were crafted, proving that inspiration sometimes sails quietly rather than roars. Beyond the Astoria, Gilmour also invested in traditional properties. He once owned Medina House, a striking mansion in Hove, East Sussex, which became a subject of headlines when complications with ownership and legal quirks pulled the property into dispute. For Gilmour, homes were more than real estate trophies. They reflected his identity as a man straddling two worlds, one of global fame and one of private retreat. His choices showed that luxury, in his eyes, wasn't about being seen but about finding peace. Yet behind the calm walls of his homes and the gentle sway of his houseboat, there were other passions that revealed how he expressed wealth and success, passions tied not to bricks and mortar, but to wheels, strings, and steel. Cars, guitars, and collections. For David Gilmour, the truest symbols of his success have never been gold chains or flashy yachts, but the tools that fueled his artistry and the passions that spoke to his quieter side. His most prized possessions have always been his guitars, none more iconic than the Black Strat, 1969 Fender Stratocaster that carried the weight of Pink Floyd's greatest anthems. In 2019, Gilmour stunned the music world by auctioning off more than 120 of his guitars, raising over $21 million, all of which he donated to charity. It was a rare glimpse into his character, a man who valued purpose over possession, willing to part with history if it meant helping others. Beyond guitars, his lifestyle includes a taste for classic cars, though he has never flaunted them like many rock contemporaries. Reports link him to a small but elegant collection of vehicles, chosen less for show and more for craftsmanship, echoing his love of precision and detail. Even in collecting, Gilmour's approach reflects a balance: instruments that define music history, cars that define design, all held not as trophies but as extensions of his identity. Yet wealth this vast does not come without complications, and in Gilmour's case, even prized homes and assets sometimes became the source of controversy. Wealth, income and investments. When it comes to financial success, David Gilmour stands as one of the wealthiest musicians of his generation, with an estimated net worth of around $180 million. Much of this fortune stems from his work with Pink Floyd, where album sales, touring revenues, and licensing deals continue to generate royalties decades after their release. The Dark Side of the Moon alone has sold more than 45 million copies worldwide, ensuring a steady stream of income long after the band stopped touring. Beyond royalties, Gilmour has earned millions from his solo work, collaborations, and live performances, with his 2016 tour for Rattle that locked grossing tens of millions. But unlike many who chase endless profit, Gilmour has frequently funneled his wealth into philanthropy, from donating his guitar auction proceeds to climate change charities to supporting humanitarian causes across the globe. Investments in property also form part of his financial landscape, though not without their complications. His Hove mansion, for instance, became entangled in legal wrangling that highlighted the risks of even vast wealth. Still, Gilmour's fortune represents more than numbers. It reflects a career that reshaped modern music and a life that carefully balances indulgence with responsibility. Yet, as history has shown, money cannot always shield one from disputes or controversy, and for Gilmour, the very homes he bought as havens would soon place him in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Legal drama and controversies. For all his careful choices and quiet demeanor, even David Gilmour has not escaped the turbulence that often shadows immense wealth. One of the most striking examples involves Medina House, his seaside mansion in Hove, East Sussex. Once envisioned as a stunning retreat, the property instead became a source of frustration when ownership complications surfaced. Due to a peculiar legal loophole and administrative lapses, part of the estate was said to have technically reverted to the Crown, igniting headlines and sparking debate about how even a rock legend could face losing a multi-million-dollar home over paperwork. This episode cast a rare shadow on Gilmour's otherwise composed lifestyle, reminding fans that celebrity does not grant immunity from bureaucratic entanglements. Beyond real estate, Gilmour has also stepped into the public spotlight with outspoken views on politics and the music industry, sometimes drawing controversy for his critiques of how money and power are concentrated in the hands of a few. While he has never cultivated scandal in the flamboyant way of some of his peers, his willingness to speak plainly has occasionally polarized audiences. Still, these disputes only highlight the contrast at the core of his life, a man who built his fortune through timeless artistry, yet remains vulnerable to the same complications of property law and public opinion as anyone else. And away from the courtroom battles and headlines, his personal life paints a very different picture, one of stability, family, and a search for peace. Private life and persona. Behind the stage lights and million-dollar figures, David Gilmour's personal life reveals a man far removed from the excess so often associated with rock legends. Married since 1994 to novelist Polly Samson, he has built a partnership rooted in creativity as much as companionship. She has co-written lyrics for many of his songs, making their union one of both art and love. Together, they've raised children while managing to keep family life largely shielded from relentless media intrusion. Those who know Gilmour best often describe him as soft-spoken, contemplative, and happiest when surrounded by music, family, or the simple pleasures of craft. He has long enjoyed working with his hands, whether through carpentry or tinkering with instruments, passions that reflect his preference for quiet fulfillment over lavish displays. Unlike peers who chase headlines, Gilmour avoids tabloid drama, rarely offering glimpses of his private world unless it connects to his music. His recent solo album Luck and Strange even became a family affair, featuring contributions from his children, underscoring how deeply personal and grounded his artistry remains. In many ways, Gilmour embodies a paradox, one of the most celebrated guitarists alive, yet a man who seeks normality in a world that constantly elevates him above it. And as his career stretches into its later chapters, the question lingers: how does he want to be remembered? As the icon of Pink Floyd, or as the private individual who carefully shaped a life beyond the glare of fame? Conclusion and what to watch for. As we step back from the riverbanks of the Thames and the quiet corridors of his homes, the lifestyle of David Gilmour emerges as a portrait of contrasts. Here is a man whose guitar solos filled stadiums and defined generations, yet who chose a houseboat over a penthouse and privacy over constant publicity. His wealth, estimated at nearly $180 million, is visible in guitars, cars, and homes, but it is equally evident in his acts of generosity, from multi-million-dollar charity donations to a lifetime of music that continues to inspire. The controversies, such as the legal quagmire surrounding his Hove mansion, remind us that no fortune or fame is without its complications. And yet, through it all, Gilmour remains firmly himself, a husband, a father, a craftsman, and an artist who values serenity more than spectacle. For fans, the intrigue lies in what comes next. Will he continue releasing intimate projects like Luck and Strange, further entwining family into his music? Will the Astoria continue to serve as a sanctuary for new creativity, or will his legacy shift fully into the archives of history? One thing is certain: David Gilmour's lifestyle, like his music, refuses to follow convention. It is a testament to the power of shaping life not by expectation, but by choice. And as the world watches, the final chords of his story remain unwritten, leaving us to wonder just what surprises this legendary guitarist still has in store.